Chris Wallace of Fox News had Jill Stein on his show to talk about her candidacy, and his questions were relatively hacky.
You call for Medicare for all, a guaranteed federal job for anyone who wants one, free college tuition, canceling all student loan debt, cutting military spending by 50%, and ending all wars and all drone attacks. Dr. Stein, how much will that cost, and how are you going to pay for it?
So let me say first, we don't call for ending all wars, but we call for ending these catastrophic regime change wars that have cost us $6 trillion by the time we've paid for the health care of our wounded veterans. That's according to a recent Harvard study. And remember, this is more than half of our discretionary budget. So that's part of how we pay for things. Another way we pay for things, in fact, we call for a Green New Deal, an emergency jobs program to fix the emergency of climate change. And the great thing, Chris, is that this program pays for itself. And I can say this as a medical doctor, it turns out we get so much healthier by eliminating fossil fuel pollution. 200,000 deaths every year, in fact, from fossil fuel pollution. We get so much healthier that the savings in healthcare alone is enough to pay for the green energy transition.
Now, the Washington Post.
And something like...
Well, let me just pick up. The Washington Post is a pretty liberal newspaper. After interviewing you, this is an editorial that they wrote. The headline, Jill Stein's fairy tale candidacy. And in it, they said this: Jill Stein's policy ideas are poorly formed and wildly impractical. Dr. Stein, that's not good.
Yes. Oh, no, that's not good. No. Dr. Stein, we have a report here from Bob in Maine who says, you're a pathetic loser who sucks balls and is the worst person on the planet, and you're the dumbest person on the planet, and you have an IQ of 17. Your response? Look, I'm in favor of tough questions. I'm not in favor of hack questions. Those were hack questions. And by the way, Chris, do a little goddamn research. Okay, now, honestly, this isn't just Chris. This is also those idiots at the Washington Post who decided to write that abysmal article. Your fairy tale candidacy! Unicorns, pie in the sky! Virtually every other modern nation has all the things that Jill Stein is calling for. All the things. So if anything, unicorns, fairy dust, pie in the sky, poorly formed ideas applies to the system that we have right now. When you have over $1 trillion in student loan debt, why isn't that pie in the sky, stupid, unicorn, fairy dust nonsense? That should be called nonsense, because it's a rigged system against average people. But then, no, that's never nonsense. If the fucking corporations and rich people rig the system against the little guy, no, shut the fuck up. That's not nonsense at all. That's the way it should be. So, medical bills are the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the U.S. Where's the outrage over that? They got nothing to say about that. But when somebody comes along and says, hey, we should fix this and have the exact same things that other modern nations have, they go, stupid, pie in the sky, idealistic, so stupid, so stupid. Okay, now hold on now. Think about that logic. I mean, this is the same kind of logic that in 1959 in Mississippi and Alabama, when civil rights activists come along and they say, we should end segregation. These idiots would write those same articles. End segregation. But it's been like that for so long. Oh my God, you want to change it and make it better? That's so stupid. That's so stupid. It's never going to go away. Why don't you just accept it? What's the problem? Fairy dust, unicorns. Or these people could just be liars. So they know what the reality is about other modern nations and how they have universal health care and how most of them have universal education and they have paid maternity leave and they have almost everything she's calling for. And they just go, no, we're just going to do the bidding of rich people and say that that's stupid and that's poorly formed ideas. No, it's actually very basic run-of-the-mill ideas that you guys mock either because you're ignorant or because you're carrying water for billionaires. You tell me which one it is. And so the first question, how can we pay for it all? How can we pay for it all? Look, I honestly wouldn't mind that question if it was asked in other contexts, but it's not asked in other contexts, so it's a hack question. Because they never asked that about military spending. So Donald Trump comes along and he's like, I'm going to increase military spending. Chris Wallace doesn't go, how the fuck can we afford that? We already spend over 50% of our discretionary budget on the military. How can we afford that? We don't even have clean water in many cities in the United States, and you want to increase military spending? Our infrastructure gets a grade of D-, and you want to increase military spending? We have 800 military bases around the world, and you want to increase military spending? How can we afford it? How can we pay for it? We can't pay for it. What are you, crazy? They never asked that about the military. They never asked that about corporate welfare. You know, hey, ExxonMobil gets $4 billion every year. Hey, Secretary Clinton, how can we afford that? Donald Trump, how can we afford that? You want to continue these subsidies? How can we afford that? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Corporate welfare, Wall Street bailouts. We spent trillions of dollars bailing out Wall Street. How can we afford that? Why do you want to do that? You do know they still get $80 billion a year, right? How can we afford that? Why do you still want to do that? They never ask that question where it should be asked about misplaced priorities and spending too much on stupid shit, but they always ask it when it's spending for the people. When it's spending for you, when it's your tax money going back to you in a way that you would approve of with healthcare, education, how can we afford that? How can we afford, educating people and helping them when they're sick when we should just be blowing up innocent brown people overseas with that money and setting up more military bases and helping out rich people on Wall Street? Their priorities are so misplaced, and they're just hacky, stupid questions. And anybody who has a basic understanding of world politics can recognize that.